Hey guys, I'm Millie. I'm from Córdoba, Argentina, and I've been supporting Sunderland since 2014. Sunderland take over everywhere we go.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Black Cats Chat International Fans Podcast. My name is Thirkell. I'm from the Bilbao Black Cats, and today I'm joined by Anth Stephenson from the SAFC NASA Branch. Good morning to you, Anth.
Good morning, mate.
And I'm also joined once again by our Roker Park rocker, the Bulgarian Supporters Branch, Danny Dimitrov. Good afternoon, Danny.
Hello, guys. Good afternoon to you.
All right, so yesterday then we came back from the international break and we lost 3-2 against Plymouth. Disappointing match, which we'll get onto in a moment. But first, Anthony, it's your first time on the pod, so could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your story, please?
Yeah, mate. Thanks for having us. Born and raised in Sunderland, grew up in Town and Farm. Started to go to the match when I was around 10 back at Roker Park. Which we were all rocking at Roker Park back in the day. Started going there on a regular basis, got a season ticket, worked my way through the stands, ended up in the full end for the last few years of Roker. Started to travel on the road, going every away game before I moved to the US. I'm lucky enough that I've worked for the club for a few times as well. My first ever job, I was a steward at Roker Park for a year because I couldn't afford my season ticket. And then when I was in my late teens, I became a coach for the community department. Went out, learned how to become a football coach, which ended up leading me to come to the US. And that's what I did for 15 years as a professional coach. And the best thing that I ever did, and a lot of people know this, is I was actually Samson the Cat for 3 years at the Stadium of Light. And it was the best experience I could ever want to do anything in my life. And this is in the day when Samson and Delilah used to lead the teams out. It wasn't the players and the young mascots. We led the players out. So I got to walk out with some of the biggest names in football in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then I came to the US and that changed everything. And I coached for 15 years over here till I moved to Wyoming and have a regular job now, which is not the same, but it has to pay the bills with having a family. And watch every game pretty much whenever I can. And it's, try not to let them ruin the Saturday afternoon as much as they used to. But yesterday it hurt a little bit.
Yeah, sounds brilliant. That about the Samson, the mascot. What have your kids say about that?
My boy, he's 15 now. He thinks it's hilarious, and there's a few pictures of me rolling around with the head off, and when I did birthday parties and stuff, and I got pictures with other people, and I've got some official photos from the club still somewhere, like when we played Chelsea at the Stadium of Light and stuff. And it was incredible. And I joked with you the other day that I did it for a year. I did it for half a season after my first year in the US. And I lived in New York and had too much New York pizza. And I would get back down to my fighting weight in a couple of Saturday afternoons doing Samson because she'd sweat buckets. But it was absolutely a blast, mingling with the fans and going on away games and stuff like that. And it's one of those I would love to do it one more time, but I don't think my body could handle it anymore.
Brilliant. Thanks, mate. Thanks for sharing that. All right, so then we'll get to yesterday's match then. Danny, the big talking point was the lineup because we had a decision to make whether to bring Dan Neil back in or to stick with the same team that played against Portsmouth. But he dropped Alan Brown and he brought Daniel back in. Did that surprise you?
Well, the first thing I would like to say is that if you remember last week, when I mentioned my worries about the international break, and unfortunately I was right, because after winning 4 games in a row and having to stop for 2 weeks, it's like you're losing the momentum. And I was worried about this. I was worried that we're going to be affected. And I also was worried that the two international players, Trey Hume and Dan Ballard, would be tired. Well, thanks God they were not injured, but I think Danny Ballard was tired. And I'm not saying that this is the main reason that we lost the game, or Daniel being replaced by Alan Brown, but I was like, it's always the case when you go to international break and then you have to come back and things happen. And not to mention the manager of the month award, that is a bit of a jinx to when you win it, you lose straight away after that. I'm not that superstitious, but sometimes you're thinking, oh, that's going to happen. Even Justin said last time that he's worried that because Plymouth were not doing that great, and he says typical Sunderland is to lose against them. And unfortunately for us, that happened. Whether it's to do with Daniel coming back instead of Brown, I'm not sure 100%. But the thing is, we had a great win against Portsmouth last time, and then I think Alan Brown done so well, and then I wouldn't change him if I was Lebris. I wouldn't change him. I would keep him on.
Yeah.
But he obviously this was a mistake.
Yeah, and we had 5 players, I think, from the start of 11 that were on international duty. That was, I think there was Job, Rigg, Hume, Ballard, and I'm missing somebody else. I think there was somebody else.
The new boy.
Yes.
Alisic.
Yeah, and I think there was one more as well. But anyway, Alan Brown as well.
Right.
So there's those 5. So when those 5 are away for 2 weeks, they don't like take part in training sessions with the shape. Does that have an impact, you think?
Absolutely. And the problem is, it's like they had games on Monday and Tuesday, and they're not going to come straight back to training anyway. They're going to have another day off. And then it's a travel day. So Friday, they travel down. So literally, some of those lads probably had 1 day back with the first team to work on shape, tactics, stuff like that. And it's not enough. Because the way Lebris plays his teams now, he sets them up, changes the way we play pretty much against every team. And that, I think that's going to cost us. And the way we look at international breaks, I think has to change because it affects clubs like us. We're not like Chelsea that's got, 150 players in the squad that can just rotate anybody in. Our players that go out away on international duty are pretty much core players for the most part. And, Danny's right. I think it showed with Ballard yesterday. He just wasn't his normal self. He's more athletic, mobile. His first touch was not there yesterday as well. And I think the way we look at international breaks, especially a made-up tournament like the Nations League and stuff like that, it's got to look to change to support the clubs in a better way.
Yeah. Would you have made a couple more changes then, Anth, taking that into account?
I don't know about changes. I just think we have to look at, if these players are away till like Tuesday or Wednesday, is we might have to bypass the Saturday game and play the following Wednesday. So these guys have time to recuperate and get back into their regular team training. Because it's not going to be the same from how they coached for the Republic of Ireland to how much they get, what they get trained on with us, down at the academy. So I think it's got to be looked at how the setup has changed, because 2 games in a few days and then come back to play for your club team is not going to benefit anyone, even though we've got such a young team.
Yeah. So, Danny, we started the first half quite well. I think like the first 20 minutes, it was pretty much all Sunderland. though we didn't have much tempo. We went into the break 1-0 thanks to a Patrick Roberts penalty. What did you make of the first half?
Well, I think the first half we should have been realistically at least 2 up and pretty much have the game wrapped up. Unfortunately, we didn't do that, and as we know in football, we pay the price after. But it's really disappointing to be losing games like this, especially when we play well and you play against opposition that didn't do that great in the first 4 games. But that's all coming to tell you that this division is very tough and nothing is for granted. You'll go to places like Plymouth and then you're going to lose. I mean, you call it probably naive or just trying to be more adventurous. But at the end of the day, we dropped the points. It was really, really disappointing because I thought and I believed that we're going to carry on winning. The lads are they are confident enough, and the only worry was like this tiredness from the international games, and that proved to be right. It's just really frustrating not to be scoring goals from situations that we create, and that was the key to this defeat yesterday.
Yeah. And so the first 2 minutes, we started on the front foot, pressing. We were patient. And then we had a chance after 2 minutes. I think Mundell got in on the left-hand side and he blasted the ball across the box. And that was like kind of like, it put us on the right path, didn't it? Because we had a couple of chances later. Mayenda broke at speed, which I think we didn't see enough of. What did you make of that?
I thought we started, really well. I think we can all agree. First 15, 20, 25 minutes, I thought there was only one team in it. And the way we looked to play over the last few games was going to be another one of the same old story. And the last 15 minutes of the first half, we just literally took the foot off the gas. The high press that everybody's been raving about over the first few games of the season just literally wasn't the high tempo that we've had over the last few weeks. It kind of started well, but then it went flat. And I think that's what cost us because we let Plymouth have time on the ball. They started hitting us with a little bit of a high press themselves, and we just didn't respond to it. So the last 10 minutes of the first half, Plymouth were coming into it and we didn't respond to it.
Yeah, it seemed to me that as soon as we scored the goal, like we just kind of dropped off and Plymouth just started to wake up. After 5 minutes, Danny, Romain Mundell made a challenge. I don't know if you saw it on the left-hand side, which he could have been yellow carded for, but he didn't. So he was a lucky boy there.
Well, these things, they happen in football. I mean, sometimes you're lucky, sometimes you're not going to be lucky. I mean, in this case, he was. But, that's how it is in football. That could have changed everything dramatically. But, things got...
It could have, couldn't it? Because, he got into a bit of a scuffle in the second half, didn't he, Anth? And he got yellow carded for that, but he could have been yellow carded after 5 minutes, so he could have been shown a red. So,
mate, to be fair, I honestly thought he got a yellow early on. So it was like when that scuffle happened with their captain, I thought he was getting his marching orders, and the fact that their captain didn't get one either around that incident just shows you, because he got one 5 minutes later as well. So we both should have been, could have had a red card.
Yeah. And Danny, one of my points that I've written down here is we seem to be making too many passes in the final third rather than being clinical and ruthless. Would you agree with that?
Well, I mean, each game is different. So far, they were doing great. Other teams had more possession than us, but we were more clinical and we were killing the games off. And for some reason, this didn't happen yesterday. And they were passing the ball more, but without scoring all the opportunities that we had. And obviously, in games like this, when you give the ball away to the opposition, they will grow in confidence and they will start attacking you. They will start pressing you. And then Plymouth obviously turned the score in the second half quite quickly, not without the help of the unfortunate own goal and this penalty, and then we had to chase the game. But as I said, Championship is such a tough division. You know, any team will give you a hard time.
Yeah, and we almost went 2-0 up, Anth, with a Patrick Roberts free kick, which I think the keeper tipped onto the bar. That would have been a huge boost, wouldn't it, going to 2-0 at half time? But we didn't.
It would have changed. Yeah, I think it would have changed the game, mate. I think if we'd killed it off and that had went in, and to be fair, it was a lucky save that the keeper got enough just to push it onto the bar and out. But it could have been it could have killed them because, you know, they've only had a couple of draws in the first couple of few games of the season. Everybody's looking at like Rooney's head already. And it was one of those where if that had went in, it could have been a different second half. We could have came out with that, you know, that urgency, that desire, the passion that we've had over the first few games. But I think with how the half ended and Plymouth on the rise, and we just didn't come out and play the second half.
Yeah. And Danny, yesterday we seemed to have more possibility going forward down the right-hand side with Robertson, Hume, because it seemed to me like Dennis Serkin wasn't getting forward as much. He wasn't supporting Mundle like he used to. We'd normally go on the overlap, but the last few games he's been a bit more defensive. Do you think that has an effect on Mundle's game?
Well, obviously, yes. I mean, Mundle done quite well, scoring 3 goals in the last 3 games, and without the support on the flank, obviously it's going to be more difficult for him. I think he scored a similar goal against Portsmouth. It was quite from like a tight angle, and how the hell that ball went through so many players and in the back of the net, I don't know. But he's such a talent. He's such an aggressive young footballer and skillful as well. And I believe in him a lot. And obviously his display depends on others as well, and the support of Serkin down on the left. I mean, this is so important in nowadays football, where the left and right backs are playing like wings down the wing. So that's modern football. That's what we need to do every game.
Yeah, and it seemed yesterday that he was having quite often 2 men coming over to mark him, and it seemed that when he tried to go forward, he was just blocked off and frustrated. His only other option was to pass back to Serkin, who wasn't making those overlapping runs yesterday. Do you think that was because maybe I think it was like Morgan Whittaker's their right winger, and maybe they were a bit concerned about him? So possibly...
I think so. I think both. Yeah, sorry, mate. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I think maybe it's like Serkin was more defensive because of that.
I think so. I think both of their wingers look good. They were both, tricky, especially at the start of the second half, end of the first half. I think the biggest problem for us yesterday is 90% of what we'd looked to do was down the wings ourselves. You know, it was down with Mundle, it was down with Roberts. We really didn't have anybody, unless it was like a longer through ball up front to Mienda. We didn't have a midfielder trying to join the player in like the final third to try and look to get in, where we've seen Job do that in the past. I think we lacked that. So I think we were a little bit, especially in the second half, a little bit one-directional, because everything we looked to do was try to get down the right or the left. But as you're seeing, Hume and Serkin especially never really looked to get in, and I think that is because of the threat. And both of their wingers were piercy, and I think that to give them that extra respect, but it cost us going forward. But it was like we were really one directional. It was all down the wings. We needed something extra in the middle.
Yeah. So Dan, we went in at half-time 1-0, comfortable. Didn't play particularly well, but still we went in 1-0. What do you think Regis Lebris was saying at half-time? to the players?
Well, it's hard to predict what he would have said, but I'm pretty sure he would have encouraged them to go on and attack and kill the game off, because obviously 1-0 is such a fragile lead, and you need to just kill games off as soon as possible, and then frustrate the opposition. And unfortunately for us, that didn't happen. And I'm sure he's a good motivator. I'm sure he knows his football. I'm sure he's a good coach and manager at the same time. So, whether they didn't do what he asked them to do, I can't say. But the truth is that we sort of dropped off in the second half and conceded earlier on, which invites Plymouth to attack more. And then this penalty came along, and then you're chasing the game again.
Yeah.
But the frustrating part is that when you equalize that late in the game, you're thinking you might go and nick it, and maybe we try to do that, and we pay the price. I'm not taking away that good goal that they scored. It was a long distance shot that obviously made it difficult for Patterson to save, and it was an easy tap on for their player. But I think this was a bit naive from us to drop the points in that game.
Yeah, totally. And so it's second half. You know that Wayne Rooney's going to get into his players because they were crap the first half. They didn't do anything. Should we have been a bit more, I don't know, expectant of that they were going?
Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, as I said, they're struggling for points, and it's one of those where they're playing in front of their own fans. They've got to start getting pickup wins themselves, and we should have expected them to come at us. And as Danny was saying, I don't think we were at it at the start of the second half. We weren't quite up to the pace of play. And as you were saying, what Labrie would say is expect the wave is coming. If we get through with these 15, 20 minutes and do what we do, we should be okay. And we didn't do that. As I said, we stopped the press. It was very lethargic through the second half. And when we got the equaliser, everybody thought at the time it was one team in it. And it didn't turn out that way. But it's just the second half was is the flattest performance I've seen in the league this year.
Yeah, I think Danny as well, like that, their first goal, it was kind of unfortunate, wasn't it? That I think they had a long range shot, and if it hadn't gone in, it would have been save of the season by Patterson, I think, wouldn't it? But it was an own goal by Ballard. But then the second goal, which was their penalty, I think that was kind of like just very poor play from Ballard, wasn't it? He made a similar mistake against Newcastle in the FA Cup, didn't he? When he gave a penalty away as well, and he scored an own goal that day. And it was, I don't know, very rash from him, wasn't it?
Well, this is the so-called suicidal performance with an own goal and then conceding this stupid penalty. I mean, this is just a nightmare. Every footballer's nightmare, and it was happening all to him, and it was happening after the international break, and it's just. It's so frustrating. I mean, I'm sure he's very, very disappointed. And I think at the end he actually had an injury as well. So that's like a triple misery for him, and obviously for us, as he's our central defender. He's quite a good player, and we're gonna miss him again. I don't know how long he's gonna be out. I hope it's something minor.
Yeah.
But he's definitely had a game to forget.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and we went 2-1 down then, which is mad, isn't it? Because we were 1-0 up. And then we get back on level terms. Like Romain Mundle out of the blue just like produces like some magic. I mean, like 2 minutes earlier, I was asking him to be subbed because I thought if we don't sub him, he might get sent off because he was getting a bit riled up by the other players. He was getting a bit frustrated. But then he comes and does that. So I think that was on the 86th minute, I think it was, that we got the equaliser, and you're thinking, well, we can go and win this now. And then they announced 7 minutes of extra time, injury time, added on time. And I'm thinking we can do this. And then suddenly they score a third. What do you think happened? What do you think went wrong?
I think you're completely right that when we got the equaliser, it looked like we were on the ascendancy. It looked like we were upping up our game. We were, getting back to what we do, playing a little bit quicker through the middle third, out wide. Mundle, as I said, you're right. He looked like he was going to go off. The crowd were on his back every time he got the ball. It was boos. And then when we got the equaliser, he's like, let's go on and push and get this. And, we'll take the scrappiest win of the season. And then I think it was one of those where we probably overcommitted for that little bit of time. They went a bit more direct. It kind of bypassed our midfield. And I think that's what cost us. And if we look at it in hindsight yesterday, probably would have took a draw, especially of how we played in the second half.
Yeah. Danny, he made 2 subs. He brought on Isidore, and I can't remember who the other sub was. But anyway, he brought 2 subs on. And should he have brought them on sooner? And could he have brought maybe a few more players on?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would have thought that he should have got them on earlier if they are going to make any changes to the game, and leave them with more time to play. And also, when you're chasing the game with 2-1 down, obviously you need to react. You need to get more players on, more attacking players on, and then trying to change the game. And then when you're thinking that we scored the equalizer in the 87th minute, and then the 7 minutes that were added on, that makes it 10. You're thinking you've got every chance to win this game. And I don't know whether this is like naive, or whether this is like we've opened up too much trying to get that win. I don't know what it is, but even their goal didn't happen after a counter attack. It was just a long distance shot. So all the defenders were there. Like it was pure luck, I think, for Plymouth to score like that, because maybe we can blame Patterson a little bit, but with so many players in front of him, maybe he couldn't see the ball well, and just managed to parry the shot, and then it was an easy finish for their striker. So I think it's probably a little bit unfortunate as well.
Yeah,
for us to concede in the 94th.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Nobody expected that, didn't it? It just came from nowhere.
I thought that we're gonna get the game. I thought we're gonna win at the end.
Yeah,
very frustrating to me.
Yeah, and I think it was Alan Brown who came on, didn't he? I think Alan Brown came on, and I was actually calling for him to come on because I thought we were getting a bit bullied in that second half, I think. And I thought, okay, bring Brown on, bit of experience. And I was saying maybe bring Rusin on as well, because Rusin, I mean, he divides opinion, but what I like about it is that he's got a lot of energy, and I think he puts his foot in. And I was thinking that, like in yesterday's match, I think it would have suited him to come in and give something, but he didn't get on in the end. So were you surprised that we only made 2 subs?
Yeah, to be fair, mate, it really was. As we said earlier, I thought Mundle would have come off, and apparently Isidore is more comfortable on the left. So I thought that would have been a natural swap, or give young Watson a run out. But as we said, we're glad we kept Mundle on. But yeah, I love the energy from Rusin up front. He always puts himself about with a slighter figure. We can see some of these centre halves. But yeah, I thought we should have made a couple of more subs, because, as I said, the energy wasn't there. And if these boys have struggled on international duty, I think it was time to give them a rest. They get somebody on last 20, 25 minutes, and we might have been able to get something more out of the match.
Yeah. Right, well, we'll move on to the Borough game. So, local rivals Middlesbrough next week. Danny, difficult game, innit? It's a home game, but it's a difficult one.
Well, of course. I mean, whether you call it a derby or not, it doesn't matter. It's just a tough fixture that's coming. And knowing what happened last season, it worries me that I don't want to see anything like a silly sent off or like conceding a silly penalty or something stupid from our players. I just want them to go out and recover from this Plymouth game and show everybody that they're still the league leaders and we are more than capable of winning games like this. If our players are not burnt out like against Newcastle for the FA Cup, if they keep their cool, if they enjoy playing football, I think we should win this one. They just have to remind themselves what happened last time and then how disciplined they need to be, especially against a very solid Borough team, but absolutely beatable. So I think we should prove people wrong, and we should go out and win this one just to bring the confidence back and keep winning and retain that first spot. And hopefully West Brom is not going to win today, because otherwise we're going to be second.
Yeah. And then, if we have a bad result against Borough, then the pressure does start to get a little bit more intense, doesn't it? Because we've got a kind of tricky run of fixtures. We got Borough, Watford, Derby, and Leeds, and all four of those are currently in the top 10. So, Anth, would you make any changes for next week?
I've got to. Yeah, obviously we will. I hate to think to drop Dan Neil because he is the team captain, and I think that's why he came back in yesterday. But honestly, Alan Brown, more composed in the middle, really needed that experience, and that's why we signed him, was for in that spot. I think we're going to have to make a change in central defence if Ballard's not ready, but we have made a great backup signing to cover that. But I think for the team to recover, I think there's a couple of days off and then back to working as a group together. And then the thing I like the most this year, mate, is at the Stadium of Light, we've played a couple of really good teams, but we've been so dominant. And that's, I think, we've beat teams a lot over the Stadium of Light over the last few years, but we've looked like we've made our home, and we've not let other teams enjoy playing at the Stadium of Light this year. And we have to do the same with the Borough. It's just like they're a local rival, but this is our place. This is how we play, and we need to get at them from the first minute. But as you lads were saying, no stupid mistakes like last year.
Yeah. Danny, so it looks like Dan Ballard may miss out because he left the stadium on crutches and a leg brace. That means probably Mepham would come in. Would you make any other changes?
Well, the main question seems to be Alan Brown or Dan Neil. Obviously, Dan Neil is a local lad, born and bred in Sunderland, and maybe he's going to be a better choice for this derby. But we all know what happened last season, and he got sent off for this silly arguing with the referee. So he just needs to keep his cool. Other changes, I'd say that we need to. Well, the only change I could see is the central defense Dan Ballard, and then I think we should keep the same squad. If God forbid things are not working, then we need to have enough substitution in the second half to try to finish the game off. But I remember how we played against Burnley, especially the first half. And I'd like to see the same performance from the lads and just go out there and just push them and press them and obviously attack them. So we want to see the passion. I know it's the second derby, like with the local rivals, but that should be enough motivation for them to go out and give some entertainment to all the fans of the Stadium of Light.
Yeah. Quick prediction then, Dan. Do you think we can do it? Do you think we'll win?
I would go with my favourite 1-0 to Sunderland.
Again. All right. Anth, what about you, mate? Quick prediction?
2-1.
2-1.
I think Borough's a decent team this year. I think they'll score, but I think we'll go out early and get a goal or two up.
Yeah, my heart says 2-1 as well, but my head says 2-2. because local rival derby matches, whatever you want to call it, they end up often being a draw. So, all right, lads, thank you very much for your time, and we'll speak again soon. Thank you for listening. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Enrico from Italy, and I started following Sunderland in 1990. Away the lads! Away the lads!